Imagine like a 2x2. And then on the x-axis, you have demand. And then on the y-axis, you have competition. So there's demand and then there's competition, right? So there's basically like this golden space, right? There's demand and competition is both low. Then there's high competition, but there's like low demand. And then we finally have like high competition, high demand, which
High
is
demand.
basically performance marketing, let's say for e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
So and I'll give you an example of something which was low competition, high demand, but it isn't anymore. And that's UGC content.
Oh
So
yeah, nowadays
agencies,
it's
yeah. So there was a time when no one was providing it, but every brand needed it. And they used to basically reach out to individual people on Instagram and ask them to create UGC for them. But now everyone is providing it, right? To Meta and TikTok are providing it themselves. So how I would suggest someone who's starting now, I don't need to do this strategy because I have a base of clients and I have case studies. But if you were starting out, then you want to start with the low competition, high demand, something like this, right? So I told you about two retention channels, which you didn't mention. You said email and SMS, and I said push notification and Facebook Messenger. These are good
yeah.
examples. But the problem is people will benefit from it, but they don't really need it. They don't know that they need it. So I still would place it in like that, low demand, low competition thing. And that's usually like my upsell. So that's just my upsell. So how I would see this 2x2 is I would start with something which is high demand, low competition. So right now I see in the industry, there is that affiliate marketing has taken a backseat in D2C e-commerce, and it needs to come back because
Yeah.
now they are talking about UGCs, but they're forgetting the fact that UGC is just content. But if you were to have these people post that on their social media and give them coupon codes, that's where you can actually turn that UGC into revenue, right? So if someone goes with this pitch and then slowly goes into something which is sort of the medium range, like email marketing, SMS marketing, retention, and then builds their way up to performance marketing, which is the high demand, high competition. There's a reason why it's high demand, high competition, because most of the money is there.
Yeah.
So it's not like you should just settle managing affiliates and influencers. You should then build it up and do retention marketing, and then you should build it up and do performance marketing, because
Yeah.
e-commerce, if you can easily handle the full funnel as an agency, you don't need to depend on anyone else. If you are a good marketer, you can build the entire funnel. So my approach now is, since I already have case studies, I'm starting out reaching out with the retention pitch. So the Klaviyo, email, SMS, and adding, then my next upsell is push notifications, Facebook Messenger, retargeting. And then I say, hey, what's happening? The revenue from Klaviyo is not increasing. What's happening to your ads, right? Like, what's happening? What's Because as soon as they blame me for Klaviyo becoming stagnant, so what
Yeah.
I can promise is they are doing, let's say, 15% revenue from email or 20%. I can push it to 30%. That's pretty much what I can do, or 35% if I go crazy with A/B tests and implementations. But what else can I do? Then they need to bring more people in the funnel in order to improve the revenue. So I can always go back to them and say, hey, what's happening to your performance marketing? Let me do a free audit for you. Then it's much easier because I'm already someone they trust.
Yeah.
So, but if I go out and say, replace your performance marketing agency with me, there's no one going to give a shit about that email, right? Because that's
Yeah.
something they get 100 a day of. So
Exactly.
yeah, that's just like my way of thinking about this. So just whatever industry, I think this 2x2 works for any industry. We had that recent client, Jayant, which I shared with you, the $3,500 retainer, right? So
Yeah.
this, from this month on, it's going to be $5,000 a month. And so that's a $1,500 upsell in just 30 days. And the only thing I told him was, hey, this is great, Clayview and all that, whatever we are doing. But in his email footer, he had social media links. And when you click on the links, nothing is happening on their social media profile. So I was like,
Ah.
and I showed him the click map from Klaviyo, that people are literally clicking on these social media channels and never coming back to the email because there's no activity on social media.
Yeah.
$1,500, we manage the social media for him. But the point is that there's so many ways to just upsell from there on. And like you said, once you're already making a $5,000 from a client, you can just say, I'm also going to do TikTok ads for you and get 10% of the revenue. I don't need any retainer for that because your costs are
Yeah.
being recovered in the first retainer. Because then what happens is, there are agencies who are doing one thing. So there are agencies who are doing Klaviyo agencies. Then there are agencies who are performance marketing. But if you start to do this full funnel thing, you become irreplaceable because to
100%.
replace you, they need to hire 5 agencies.